rewind the tape a bit back to my days in TYC. Here's a quick story for y'all right here. When I first got to the Texas Youth Commission, I had just turned 17, and I was not a stranger to that type of environment. I had did some time in Corpus Christi, Texas, a place called Taft, Shoreline. And it was a group home, you know what I'm saying, of a bunch of knuckleheads from all over Texas, and I'll get into a couple stories for y'all about my time in that joint. Met some good cats, you know what I'm saying, from South Texas. But TYC, I got there, and it was straight militarized. It had sergeants. It was all consistent around the rutina, which is a workout. We worked out at 7 days a week, no days off. Back when I was running through there, 5 a.m., it was wake up. So when you wake up, automatically they screaming and yelling, for you to get in front of your bunk at attention. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, this is ancient history when I was 17. So I'm chilling there, you got to make your bed. They have a certain regulation, everything's measured, like the folds, the creases, everything had to be perfect, and the Marlin orientation unit, that's really not really structured in the favor of the inmates, you know what I'm saying? Inmates ain't gonna have no kind of juice, no kind of real kind of structure there, so it's all sergeant, And, the workout also is gonna be a lot of cadence. They're gonna have you like left, right, left, and you're gonna be marching down to the gym to do the workout, to the chow hall, to the schoolhouse, because it's education department, Seeing as there's a bunch of youth there, they're gonna run that education on y'all. So was there a couple months. That's what it all boiled down to. The freaking way the structure of Marlin state schools built is the same way San Saba state schools built. They were built identical. It was like twins. And so you're gonna have about 10 units, one on each side, maybe even 12 units, one on each side, and each unit holds 25 inmates on one side and then 25 on the other. So you got 50, and then across the whole you got the same number. So San Saba State School, I think it held, I'd say about a good 300-400 youth. And the crazy part about it is, like, you don't see people on the other side, hardly. It's only at education time when you go to the schoolhouse, but you're never gonna get to meet everybody. You know what I mean? They hardly ever have that. So there's always a staff with you on the unit, on the tank. And this staff, when I got to San Saba, they had started hiring a bunch of young knuckleheads, so it was like at least one at a time always on the unit. So there's always one guard on the unit. And so the days consistent of going to education, working towards your high school diploma, your GED. That's what you can expect to do with the majority of your time. If you fucking off, you get into fights, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna seg you down and put you in confinement. In confinement, you're actually gonna get all your homework, all your schoolwork slided into you to your cell, and that's where you do it. For the chronic offenders, which I actually made the list for that, they put you on BMP, is what it's called, Behavior Management Program, where they just got you in the cell and they let you go to the schoolhouse after you follow the rules for a couple hours a day, versus being there all day, and then you go back to confinement. So it's kind of like you and they even give you a red jumpsuit. You're the only one in a red jumpsuit that gets to go to the school hall, and everybody else in there in oranges or You know, if you earn your phase, so the program they have set up, it's all based on phases. Phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. Phase 1, they're gonna be on all oranges, man. All right, so you got zero privileges. You got to work your way up, and then phase 2, they actually let you start wearing white tees with orange bottoms, and you can get your own kicks. And you start getting privileges. You know what I mean? Like you get more TV time. You get more recreation time. They let you go off the unit, you know, for a little bit. Your visitations, they extend them. Instead of 30 minutes, you get an hour, you know. Then phase 3, they actually let you start wearing blue jeans. You know, in phase 3, basically everything you get as 2, they just increase it. You get more benefits. And then phase 4, you know, they let you wear polo t-shirts. You know, you look like you're not even an inmate no more. They have a belt, you know what I mean? Then you have privileges like a CO. They just basically let you start running the tank, you know. You get to give the cadence, you get to get everybody at attention, you start running the tank. You know, that's how it operates. And the reason they structure it like that is to uplift the leaders, you know, give them leadership skills, let them start controlling shit, you know, having some kind of power and juice, you know. In group time, you get to run group and you get to call the shots in the group, like how everything's going to go down in your group. Uh, but TYC was a hell of an experience. I can remember, you know, my first few months there, you know, I guess from the nerves of being there, you know, I couldn't use the restroom, you know, for like weeks. Then it caused like a big saliva clog up in my mouth. I just started like foaming a lot of saliva, like for days, man. I remember having like freaking toilet paper, you know, piles of it, you know, piled up of all saliva, you know, from my nerves being so whacked out. You know, we was working out all day, every day, you know what I'm saying, 3 times a day. And then there's no commissary in TYC back in those days. You know what I'm saying? It was like you just get your 3 square meals and that's it. So that's why a lot of people started getting punked and getting their food taken, especially the chomos. You know, boys just taking other people's foods, you know. And there was always fights all the time, you know, at different tanks, different units in the school hall. Man down is what they call them, and you'll see all the COs running to the tank or to the education department and make everybody get down, you know. If you run in the tank, you know, you get to restrain people, you know. If you see people squabbling, you can restrain people, you know. And towards the end of my sentence there, you know, I started getting real cool with all the shot callers from the whole state school. So, you know what I'm saying, we form a little alliance to where, you know what I mean, all the leaders, you know, we would restrain people and keep shit in order, you know. So a lot of the hits, you know, a lot of the fights that went down, they were all through hits towards the last of my days. You had to have the green light from your, you know what I'm saying, from your peoples. Whoever you was running with, they had to give you the green light for the smashes. You know, and a lot of them were hits, you know. Like somebody else sending cats, you know, on these missions. So that was real famous, you know, putting hits out on cats. Like anybody that ever got touched and smashed, it was most likely a hit. You know what I mean? And the way they do it, sometimes it's just one other dude, or sometimes it'd be 2 or 3. You know, it just depends on what kind of mission it is. But I had a couple of guys run up on me too, you know, when I was there. And, you know what I'm saying, handled my business. We rocked it out. Did my time in the segregation. I've had assaults on COs, you know, on multiple different occasions, and that's why I actually had gotten more time at TYC. But, you know, that's basically what it was all broken down into, man. And I lasted there for 2 years, you know, from 17, 18, and 19 I was there, you know. And that's basically how I grew up in those days. But I remember specifically like begging to go to TYC, and not literally, but in my actions, I kept getting arrested in Laredo, you know, catching cases, going in and out of juvenile, you know, catching cases like assaults, possessions, theft, you know, all kinds of shit like that, you know. And it wasn't until I caught, you know, an attempted murder on the police officer that finally was like the last straw. But what's crazy is I had got released from that, and you know, what I mean, caught another case of another attempted murder on some other guys, and they locked me up another 2 weeks in there. Got released, and again, you know, and then that time, you know, what I'm saying, they had got me on some other stuff that was an assault, you know, organized crime, and they locked me up, and then they didn't let me go after that. They piled up all the charges, dismissed most of them if I would plead out to these. So that's what it was, you know. But everybody in there called me Larete. Larete was my nickname in TYC. And it was just un rollo de chavalones for me. You know, it was a bunch of youngster shit, you know, it was wild little homies. You know, and had some good memories back there, man. Shout out to anybody that was out there with me in that TYC. And, you know, back in those days, they actually let you write other state schools. So I would keep in touch with all my King brothers that were in other state schools, the ones I knew. So that's how we got down, homie. Little story for y'all. But I'ma holler at y'all, man. I'm out. Peace.